Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ask Donna and Donna. So today's topic is about intuition. I usually get clients that come to me because they feel unsure, uncertain about something, and they don't want to make a wrong decision. That's not all my clients, but sometimes it's a theme of like not trusting themselves and not trusting what they're getting. And then there's some education. Sometimes it's just clearing about what's blocking them and their clarity. And some of it is education between really listening to their inner voice and then also listening to their ego voice or external. So when I say ego, it could just be your actual ego, but it also could be like if you're raised in a certain belief system or have pressure or certain thoughts from your parents that maybe aren't your words, that sometimes get intermingled into what your true heart's desire or what your gut reaction is. And I know for myself to trust my intuition, first figure out what it was and how it shows up for me. And because sometimes you can hear things, you can feel things, you could feel, you just like have a huge sensory knowing. There could be lots of things. You can look for environmental clues to see if you're on the right track. But to really kind of hone in your intuition, I think is something that is also a lifelong path, because as I've grown in different spiritual aspects of myself, I've also needed to grow my intuition, and that kind of changes and evolves. And to check in with myself, with my meditations, and see where I'm at with my intuitions, because there's still times where I second guess myself, like, should I do this thing? And usually words like should, could, have to, never, those are more ego phraseology that's a lower vibration. So if I'm telling myself I need to do that or I should do that, or then sometimes that's more coming from the ego mind. But we're going to explore in our conversation today with Dawn about what intuition means to us and how it shows up, and how you could possibly, if you choose to, take some of these tips in our experience to hone or define or figure out where your intuition lives inside of you and how to utilize it. So Dawn, what are your thoughts for intuition or on intuition?
Yeah. Well, it's really on right now, is to say the least. And there's that stage of growth of like an exponential growth factor. I feel that is going on universally for a lot of us. That is the most powerful it's been because of all of the astrological effects and things going on. They say the veil is the thinnest it's ever been. And to say that navigating it has been a challenge is putting that mildly. I've had people want to put me back in a psych ward. I have had, that's another video again, and that I have been having a lot of sleepless nights. I have had a lot of energy, and I have had a lot of mixed messages, and deciphering that is so while I'm the happiest, healthiest I've ever been, now the up levels keep coming. They keep coming, and the challenges and the work always remains. So I am healing profound, big things. I have this favorite saying with clients that when they talk about guilt, and I always say, well, I don't even believe in guilt. I said, it's a wasted energy because you're the only one that suffers. Yeah, that's so how I roll with my real power coaching. Hit you between the eyeballs and hit you with the truth. And then lo and behold, in a session with a friend the other day, guess what I had to unleash? Guilt. Deep-seated core guilt that was there from 7 years old. Because in grade 2, I was told I was too much. And my favorite teacher separated me from all of my friends because like you and I can be, is a little raucous sometimes. And,
Totally.
that I was too noisy, and she put us in the four corners of the classroom, and I felt guilt and the too muchness and all that, and I've been carrying that since I was 7. So no biggie. No biggie.
Well, that's part of it, is to release some of these ideas that you had that keeps you from who you really are. And I know, just in a, maybe just it's too esoteric, but I'll say it anyway. We're all here to be, as humans, on an evolutionary pathway for higher consciousness. That's just kind of where we are in the world. We're both animal, and we're both spirit and this divine. And, you know, you just look through history, and no matter what you believe, is like there's always a search for more meaning in our life. And so it comes through any sort of practice, any dogmatic practice, any of the occults. That's always the stars or spirits or something other, and then the earthly material world is merging. And we are fortunate enough, and sometimes it feels like not fortunate, because we suffer and feel pain, and we have to go through all of these challenges, but we are lucky enough that we have the choice to evolve to a different state of consciousness if we choose to. And that path is pulling back the layers to find our true self, which is where our intuition lies, and to trust ourselves fully for our path and
our divine path.
Our divine path. And sometimes your divine path shows up. I know friends and family, clients, that they had an idea, and they were everyone said no, it wasn't going to work or whatever. I'm thinking of a good friend, business. He was like, no, I want to build these commercial stuff here. And the people are like, no, years. But in his knowingness, he stuck to it for years. And it turned out to be something that it really turned out well for him financially and just in general. Yeah. But to find that with the mixed messages and really be so clear that when you're pushed up with no, don't do that. Even in your spiritual work, when things come up, everything, there's going to be other factors that come up for you. And when you're faced with that, what part of you is telling you to move on? And is that a place of obstinance, or just resistance, or stubbornness, or just because you're prideful and you don't want to fail? Like, what is it? Or is it really your intuition going, no, you have to do that, no matter if people think you're crazy, or if whatever happens to you, you have to stand in your ground, like, no, this I know for sure. And that, finding that sense and that like trust, steadfastness in your bones that know that this is what I need to do, is your intuition, really, that higher calling.
It's listening to your soul's voice.
Mm-hmm. But it's noisy up here.
It can be very challenging. I can attest as well. And it takes a lot of tenacity and self-awareness, right? It starts with the self-awareness. And awareness is the first step in transformation. Did I say that? The transformation at all levels. Awareness. So, the message, the greatest message right now going on, is about that awareness, isn't it? It's about peeling that onion back. It's about looking at all the awful, horrific things worldwide, and like they call it the mass awakening, mass awakening. And that is why I look at this time as our opportunity. It's our opportunity that we get to choose. Like always, each one of us is fully empowered to choose love over fear, and to choose to create the life we want. And it starts with one person at a time. And we know, when in doing the work and in healing others, every time I heal another, I heal something in myself. And And even if I don't get it right every time, there really is no wrong. And
It's true.
that the divine has me here working hard for him, really hard lately, but also really I'm uncontrollably obnoxiously happy, and it offends a lot of people. And it's because our awakening comes with what we call the dark night of the soul, that and there's nothing easy about this. We've been saying this time and again, but I like to repeat myself for clarity, apparently. And that, you know, I literally, to watch me on these videos, giggling with my dearest friend, Donna, would you believe that I was stuck in an apartment for 2 years that I could barely leave because I had social anxiety, right? So that was my dark night of the soul. And that was just 5 short years ago. That was 2015 through to 2017. Yeah, and you have to build yourself up from each and every brick, every layer of onion, everything. And to say that I'm obnoxiously overjoyed is putting it mildly. I literally am, there's this, I'm a believer in Abraham Hicks. And there's this amazing guy doing her work. And he posted this amazing video of this guy who literally, his name is Ollie. His name is Ollie. We're going to put the link down below. Okay, where he had to pull over on a road in Norway because he was overjoyed with the beauty of his life. And I've been giggling out loud with the messages I've been getting now obnoxiously for, on and off since about November. Yeah. And so there's the work continues. And well,
I think
I'm going to put the big term out there. The big term is called ascension. So this whole video has been a lot of woo, and a lot of people aren't going to understand it.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. So a few things where the intuition, how can you make it practical? So you need to find out where it lives in you. Like some people feel it in their heart's passion path. Some people feel it in their bones. Some people feel it in their gut. Something is just like this knowing. So first, the awareness that you talked about is to find out how you interpret your own voice. Most people have heard of a small S and a big S, so self versus, or the small me and the big me, that you get information. We're constantly getting information on all levels. But how you read that information and where that information is coming from. Sometimes there's an internal information and sometimes it's external. And it's really kind of finding a nice balance of knowing what you want and what you're guided to do internally, and then being with the real world and learning out, okay, this is a practical path. This is something I should take. This is something I could do. This reinforces what my dream is. So there's practical. So there's a nice balance. It's just not like you live in this state of intuition and then you're blinded by everything. And it's more about how you show up in the world and what guides you and what voice is the guiding voice.
Everybody's happiness is different.
And everyone does have it. And your joy, but when you are talking about being over obnoxiously joyous, but that's part of it. Like part of your existence too, through the dark night of the soul, is the balance. So it's all male, female, dark, light, everything is an opposite on this plane that we live in, and it's integrating the two. So if you're having such time of darkness, there's also a time of lightness, and to find the light in the dark is the whole beauty in a spiritual joy. And then once you're really tapped in with your divine knowing, your inner light, there is this uncontrollable joy that it just oozes out of you. That's part of the benefit of being connected with the divine. It's not happiness, because happiness is usually based on, I'm happy for this moment. How can I recreate it? Or if they do that, I'll be happy. Or if I get this, I'll get happy. This is joy, divine
yes,
joy,
it is joy. It's bliss.
It's bliss and joy. And that is a whole other place
It is a whole other place than happy. You're right. You're right. I like how you.
So I know for me,
say things and you wrap it up beautifully. Yeah.
There's
divinity in that. There's divinity in that.
I've done lots and lots of hitting brick walls with certain things. I'm like, oh, it's that easy. I'm feeling really happy and I'm listening to myself and I'm following that, and there's joy that comes out. Oh, that's the right way for me to do it.
Well, and since we're rolling out the woo, it is the divine connection from source and groundedness with earth. And the column of light that is, as my coach said yesterday, that I could be standing in a pile of shit, but if I'm in that column of light, all is well. I am happy. He uses the word happy, joyous, blissful, whatever, right? And it's true. It's about being good with yourself, regardless of all external circumstances, because the human experience is about being here to have those juicy existential experiences, the shit shows, the love, and everything in between, because we're spirits that chose to have this human experience to learn the lessons, and all the things that goes with that. We'll leave that there because that's a lot.
Well, that's true. And we can't, it is the woo, but not really. You can't really talk about intuition. I mean, there is studies, and you could do a scientific research with that. So you can look at it. But when you look at personal growth and intuition, you have to really, there's a belief and a trust of something outside of you. It's really inside of you, but when you take that leap of faith, you're trusting something, and growing that trust and your own knowledge is really, even if you're not into spiritual growth, like you just want to feel better. You just don't want to be stressed out as much, or you just don't want to feel so anxious. And you want to just be reassured, like whatever decisions and actions you're taking are beneficial for you. Even just that, learning how to go in and manage and connect with yourself to say, oh, no, I'm doing what I want to do because that's what makes my heart happy, or that's what makes me just feel better physically, or that just makes me feel like I could take a breath. Like all of that is maybe woo, but it's also very practical human feelings that we want. We want to feel connected and supported, and a oneness with a bigger oneness, and oneness with ourselves. And finding humor, I mean, I don't know, I couldn't get through all of my dark nights of the souls. There's been many if there wasn't humor. I think that's actually increased my humor. I guess luckily I have dark humor anyway. I was kind of born in that. So
same.
I think it's kind of, it was a very much a family.
I've done a study on that. And if you lose your humor, you really are screwed.
You really are.
You're screwed. You might as well,
we grew up like laughing and crying at the same time. There could be tragedy, but if there wasn't humor in it, like we want to have fun in that. I mean, we can be serious, and you can have fun, but you can also be very sincere about your work and your growth, and sincere about what you're doing, and with a lot of levity and brightness and joy and humor. And why not? Like, they're not mutually exclusive. Actually, they help you. We said ascendance. It really does help you go to a higher vibration. Smiling just helps you go to a higher vibration. So there's many other things, but really with intuition is figuring out your voices, and that is a therapeutic thing. It's also spiritual work you could do. There's many, but figure out when your ego is telling you something to do and when your higher self or your true self is telling you what to do. And that's just
It's the
trial
key.
and error, and a lot of inner
error.
work. Yeah. A trial, because you get some things right, you're like, oh yeah, and then
A lot
like,
of things
okay, I'm
wrong.
gonna do this, and then it switches a little, and you're like, but that's part of like the humor in it. Like,
it is. Oh yeah,
every
my guides are nothing if not humorous. Let me
yes,
tell you.
like if in all, if you look of all of religion and all of the creation stories through every population and race, everyone has like a trickster god or a someone in that thing, that there's humor and levity, and it changes what you think is going on because that's part of it. It could not sometimes be fun depending on the trickster, but that is just part of life, and the beauty of finding your true self by going in through meditation and healing the things that need to be healed, and doing that with consciousness, and finding people that can hear your story and reflect back to you, and then also are willing to go on the journey along with you and not make you feel like you're crazy or less than, or something's wrong with you because you're having a spiritual journey. So it's kind of both. You kind of have to go into the muck. And I love what your coach said, and it's so true. No matter what is going on in your life, you could be standing in mud or awful things. It's really how you view your life. It's how you view it internally. And that really makes what you think about it. If you're happy, sad, mad, upset, there's so many different perspectives. There's so many different emotions that you could do. And figuring out how you respond from your intuition and what to do next is I want to say vital. It might be a little extreme to use that, but I think it's very important for your just life in general, no matter if you're on a spiritual quest or not, to listen to yourself. It opens
up the world of possibilities for your highest good, being here and now. And I cried when I talked about how grateful I was to the doctors just in the last video. So I think I'm out of tears, but I'm equally as grateful to my many healers that I have worked with over the last 8 years as well. And those experiences have, and to tell you the truth, working with the healers has been a little easier than getting needles on a regular basis. So maybe that's why I cried with the medical, but and so, not to toot our own horn, but energy healing is the wave of the future. Definitely. And people are finally getting on board. My friend Charlie Goldsmith has done actual studies with actual physicians in both New York and California to prove that those clients, that medicine can no longer help. He has one video we're going to post about his father's Parkinson's and how the energy healing is what leads him to health and happiness. And that comes with dietary changes, physical movement, and all the good, challenging, lovely things that I was completely resistant to for a very long time. But here I am in a size medium, and this is happy.
Yeah, and you are finding that you can trust yourself again, and knowing what paths and what teachers and healers and programs to take. And it's all really about freedom. We all want freedom. Like in some way or another, we want to be free. And the ultimate freedom is to be free from this ego monkey mind, and really being free to live in a state where you are connected to the divine. And I just want to say a few things for people that don't know what downloads are, or getting messages. It's kind of a newer term for people, just that information comes in from somewhere that they can't say it was this resource, this doctor. It's from another place. It's where the easiest thing I like to say is like when, if you're creative, or if you've ever done anything creative, or if you look at artists or dancers or composers, writers, you know, it comes from a place.
Actors.
They all say that the creation comes from this place within, and you're just kind of, it comes through them. So you're the channel. So everyone has intuition, and everyone has a channel. Everyone has these gifts. You don't have to be special. It's just the level of how much you listen to it or not, and how much you develop it, like anything else. So listening to like a download is just, if you're really more open to those channels in you with your intuition and your connection, then you'll be getting messages about how to help guide your life as well. And then that is where, for people that are maybe have been doing that, and then they get a little stuck, like, okay, is this my ego or is this my intuition? What am I being guided to do? And that is the next level to figure out, like, to hone in, like, okay, really, what are the words? How do I feel when I'm getting source messages or downloads, and which ones should I present to the world? Which ones do I privately work on? Or which one is like, no, that was just like, I really, really want that to happen. So it's a wish. So I'm hoping it's a download for me, or maybe I'm hearing it in a way that is skewed to what I want it to be. And then going back, like, okay. So it's always like a re-honing, like anything, truth. And it's all about looking for truth, like, and trusting your truth. So we kind of did a long video on this. Okay. So let's wrap it up.
That's a biggie.
But if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. As always, please like our video and subscribe to our channel. And askdawnanddonna@gmail.com is the email address where you can send us all your questions. Everyone has a great day. Bye.